Hello, are you a private investor with a comfort level of about $200,000 with a high internal rate of return and a security factor that's high also? Hello, I'm Lynn Ronald and I'm from the Champagne Yacht Club in Cancun. And the reason for my video today is to let you know that we're looking for a comfort investor for the amount of $200,000 for a pain in the market that we have found about 4 years ago. Let me just briefly bring you up to date with the story. We discovered this pain point when we're in the travel business. The travel business, as you're probably aware, is one of the largest in the world. And in fact, the adventure travel sector is climbing at a rate far in excess of the regular travel visitors that you see in airports around the world. This is the adventure travel section here. So you can see that we're in a huge industry and we're at the luxury end of it. And the way this pain in the market became apparent to us was that we're familiar with the timeshare business and the large timeshare resorts around the world, and with Resorts Condominium International, or RCI. We're basically familiar with the overall picture of the vacation ownership business. So we realized that when these big companies are trying to find sales incentives for their clients to induce their clients to come in and take a tour of the resort and ultimately sign up as a timeshare owner, there's all kinds of incentives being offered around the place, and they're rather staggering. When you deal with people like Marriott's or the Hiltons or the other big companies, Disney's, Marriott's, and so on, when they need a sales incentive to encourage people to come along and visit their vacation timeshare club for a visit, then it's not beyond their budget to be able to afford such things as a Rolls-Royce car to pick somebody up at the airport, for example, or a helicopter ride, or a boat tour, or a membership of a golf club. All of these things are used to incentivize people to come along and visit their timeshare sales room. Now, in the case of those big companies, of course, it's well within their budget to be able to afford, for example, a Rolls-Royce car. They simply write the check, and it's just added to the sales incentives. It makes it very easy for them to encourage people to come and visit their sales room. Now, we've discovered that there is a void in the marketplace that Champagne Yacht Club is going to fill, and that's in the resorts that are basically somewhere between 10 and 50 rooms. Now, of course, there's hundreds of these around the world, and more particularly in the Caribbean area where we're functioning, there are literally hundreds of these smaller resorts that are going through a period of difficult sales revenue times, due in part to the sluggish economy over the last decade in the United States, but also in part due to the fact that it's not always possible for them to reinvest in sales incentives. For example, if you took it, for example, a 20-unit small resort in the Bahamas, for example, it's beyond their scope for them to be able to go and purchase a capital item such as a sailing yacht in order to encourage or incentivize their people. It's just not in their budget. So this is where Champagne Yacht Club fits in. Our business model calls for us to provide a luxury asset in the form of a sailing yacht or a motor yacht on the premises of the resort. Now, we do this without charge to them. In other words, it's capital input from us, which allows them to take advantage of our presence, and it allows us to take advantage of their presence. So, for example, let's take the case where a small resort might need to incentivize its tours. We would offer the boat as a branded addendum to their resort. So, for example, XYZ Stay in the Caribbean Resort now has a wonderful sailboat attached to their program, which is seen to be part of their brand. The customer has more confidence and therefore come along and is incentivized to buy. In addition to that, he is able to take advantage of the yacht's presence for daily sales, scuba diving, snorkeling, etc. So this is the void in the market that we're filling, and it's quite obvious that there's a huge number of these types of resorts around. Pardon me for a moment. We currently have connections and dialogue with about 100 resorts in the Caribbean and in the Bahamas and in the USA, the southern part of the USA, where the owners are desirous to kick their sales into gear or to sell out completely. Now, the incentive for them to sell completely quite often is that these resorts are a result of a family enterprise that was evolved over the 80s and the 90s, and currently the resorts are no longer being fully used by their owners because they're desirous of moving back to the States to retire. In that case, the property is available on the open market. You can check your local real estate listings for everywhere in the Caribbean. You'll find resorts for sale all over the place, sometimes with unrealistic expectations. But in our case, what we offer them is a joint venture situation whereby we will buy the property from them more or less at their asking price, which gives them a wonderful out. And it gives us the chance to be able to put together a package involving a sailing yacht or a motorboat to incentivize sales for the resort, at the same time to reinvest and redevelop the property. There are lots of underperforming resorts for us to be able to pick and choose from. So I would like to point out that this pain point is really quite severe, and there is no solution for these resort owners. So when Champagne Yacht Club comes along and says, okay, we will locate one of our $1 million sailing boats or motor yachts at your premises on the basis that we will incentivize your resort sales, but your clientele also incentivize our timeshare sales for our sailboat or our motor yacht. So it's a win-win situation. If we isolate each party involved, we find that the resort itself gains to the extent that they have an additional activity for their people to do on an exclusive basis. In other words, they can offer weddings and functions and 21st birthdays and graduations and all kinds of things on a wonderful boat at their resort, which was not there before. They also gain by offering day charters and snorkeling and sailing and diving tours and fishing tours on a world-class basis directly from their resort. And in that turn, they get commission for the daily charter rates. From the client's point of view, when they talk about staying or buying into that resort, they've got an added leg to their enjoyment factor so that they not only can stay in the resort itself, but they have the option to use the boat as part of their vacation time. And from Champagne Yacht Club's point of view, we have a benefit in the sense that we can take advantage of the real estate aspect of the resort, along with all its included clientele, for no outlay. All we do is locate the vessel or the yacht at the site, and we automatically have a field of influence that we couldn't generate on our own due to the real estate factor. So now the question is that we're looking for a seed investor to help us get started. $200,000 is the initial requirement. Now the use of funds in this sense will be for first degree marketing to generate revenue, and the second issue is to try and use the incoming funds to file for a Reg A filing and issue shares to the public. Now this will be covered well within that budget of $200,000, and if you like the idea, we would like to ask you to do two things. One is to quickly look at our material, which we will send you, including all financials, all details about the project. Second thing is we'd ask you to make a quick decision. We have had discussions with countless people and never quite getting to the finish line because it's such a small deal. Well, in this case, we'd like you to take it and have a look at it and give us an answer within 7 days about whether you like it or you'd like to proceed or not. From that point on, we quickly go into go mode, shall we say. We consist of 5 people and a 6th person. Let me first tell you that we've got all bases covered. Our financial director is an ex-World Bank investigative officer, spent many years overseas. Our resort development manager has had successes in the past in the Caribbean. I'm a round-the-world yacht sailor. I've spent all my life sailing and chartering. We have a timeshare company that's going to help us in the sales of timeshares. He's been involved for 25 years in this business, very successful. And we also have a lady who has offered to put spas in all of the resorts as we move forward, and she will be part of the team. So if you'd like to join, this is available on a debt or equity basis, a very high IRR, internal rate of return of 14%. Security factor is covered by the joint venture on the real estate. And we'd like to move as quickly as possible. Give us a call. I'll leave all the contact numbers at the bottom of this video for you. I'm Lynn Ronald. My Skype is lynn.ronald. My email is remaxbocus@gmail.com. And unless there's anything else that I've forgotten, I think that's probably it. We look forward to talking to you. This is a fun thing to do. And I might mention as a kind of a bonus, the first person who responds to this and becomes involved with this, there is only one required, by the way. But it means that at least for the first 2 or 3 years, we will have lots of availability of resort units available which can be taken advantage of by the investor. For example, we know that there's going to be empty rooms for the first 12 to 18 months, and if that's the case, they can be used to an extended level by the investor. So, with anything else to say, I don't think there's anything else. Oh, this is a typical resort. Have a look at this. This is a typical resort in the Caribbean, or in the Bahamas, I beg your pardon. This is a four-unit building in the background there with a restaurant and a nice beach, beautiful beach. And it's got approvals for 16 more units to be built on the back. So there's a 20-unit property right in the most beautiful part of the Bahamas available to us to hook up and do a joint venture with a sailing boat. So please get back to us and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Put the wind behind you. Bye-bye.